I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today in our live pop-up. Take your questions about U.S. immigration law, a very complicated area, especially in light of the administration changes and a lot of worries that people have that are coming up because of it. So we pop up. I mean, we come every Tuesday, 5 or 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, to take your Q&A or questions and to give probably general educational purpose answers every week. But sometimes we have pop-ups just like this. We're going to do more of this more and more because we get so many requests because people are really worried about the change of administration, what effects it'll have on their immigration programs and their lives. So I wanted to come this Sunday afternoon to take questions for half an hour about U.S. immigration law. We're here live on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and on LinkedIn to take your questions. So feel free to shoot your questions. We'll do, again, general education only, not intended for individual legal guidance. If you want to learn about marriage immigration, fiancé visas, we have a detailed 70-plus page guide that goes through everything you need to know to start. Go to the website, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com to get into that. You're going to be really amazed at what kind of information is there. And if you're not doing a marriage case, other kinds of cases, there's helpful information as well. But yeah, ask your questions generally. N says, can I ask on fiance visa green cards? Ask what the question is, and we'll take it from there. If I don't do those kind of cases or don't know, I'm honest. I just say I don't do them. I don't know right now to look it up. Or if I have the answer, I'll do a general educational answer that's there. If you want to schedule a private consultation, fees do apply. It's jqqlaw.com/contact is the website to go to. Again, that's jqqlaw.com. J as in Jack, Q as in Queen, K as in King, law.com. And reach out to me. Tell me, let me go to the website, fill in that form, says what your case is about, and let you know if it's something we handle and we could guide on. So let's go to our questions. For you to ask, how long does a fiance case take to get approved in Pakistan? So there's no real timelines I could quote in Pakistan because inevitably they'll do a fiance visa interview at the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan. And those cases sometimes get approved immediately, and sometimes years go by, and people are forced to do lawsuits to get the case going. So I don't really have a good timeline. It's going to take years, at least 2 years, if not 4 years at average for a Pakistani case. Whereas if you're from Belgium, it might take a year and a half. So a lot of times the country you're from makes a difference. And Pakistan is one of the worst, hardest hit in South Asia or Asia general. Iran and Pakistan are the worst. And Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya are probably the worst. But it's pretty bad. Endovima says, is it true that F1 students will be immediately granted a green card? No, no one gets immediately granted a green card. Trump said he'd do that once he's president. Anyone with a student visa or graduates gets one. That's not true. Now, if you're a student visa holder and you apply for a green card, it might be processed depending on what it is, but it has nothing to do with the other. And I doubt it'll be possible, even if President Trump said he'll give green cards out to F1 students. I doubt that's actually going to happen. Lady says, will my naturalization be affected? I'm on a conditional green card currently. I don't know. I don't know anything about your background to say how your naturalization application will happen. There's nothing that's changed right now in the laws that affects anything, and President Trump hasn't indicated something that would affect you unless your marriage was not real, unless you committed crimes. Just the same stuff that was problematic before will still be problematic. So there's no change in that scenario. Let's go to TikTok, see what kind of questions we have there. Does USCIS check I-9 forms? No, they don't check them yet. They don't have a system for that. If they're really worried about your I-9, they'll ask you to provide it. Singh says, I came here on a green card based and after divorce, but now I'm a citizen. I have 2 kids. Am I safe? There's no reason to think you're not, unless you committed fraud or misrepresentation or weren't entitled to a green card in some form or fashion. So we'd have to go into your history or your life and talk about it to see if, in the review of your forms, to see if there's an issue that existed that wasn't caught. For most people, vast majority of people, no, but I don't know what's your case. Anthony says, what will happen if we sue the government for delay case? Eventually, the government gives in and just speeds it up, or they might go to court and you argue it out and see what happens. I see you, MJ Bebo. Ramju says, I forgot to disclose child's name on I-751, but I did disclose on N400. Any problems, please? Well, it depends on whether it's problematic for the case to not have disclosed a child. So some people might have had a child and they wanted to hide a previous marriage, and by not telling the child, they hid that too. So that's problematic. But if you just forgot, it's kind of weird that you forgot that on your I-751. But did you say on your adjustment of status or not? Is this a child with you and the existing spouse got the green card, so does it make a difference, or like a previous spouse? It really depends on your fact-specific circumstances, why you said it, why you didn't, what reason you have, who the child is relative to you and your current spouse, how it affects the potential decision-making by an officer. Will it lead them? Would it lead them to find information that's bad or not? So it's probably not a problem, but I can't really tell you that in a live forum like this without really studying your background, your case. Farid asks, how long should we wait for 221G visa status? If it passes 3 months, should we put a lawsuit? Lawyers wait 6 to 12 months. 6 months is like the pushing it side, but 12 months for sure is file a lawsuit if you have a good case for it. Grace asks, if enough people have proof that their vote for Kamala wasn't counted, could a legal case be formed? I'm an immigration lawyer. I don't handle election law, so that's not something I could advise here. And user 30 keeps asking the same question. So I already answered your question. USCIS doesn't have a system for checking up I-9s right now. If they had an issue or worry about it, they'd ask you to collect all your I-9s from your former and current employers to show them. Ramji already answered your question. Grace answered your question. Afian says, please, what health condition can affect your immigration? So when you're going to get on a green card, well, there's non-immigrant visas, there's immigrant visas. So if you want to come in temporarily, there's less issues. But if you want to get a green card, which I'll focus on here, because most of the time it's what think about, there's several things that can be problematic. First of all, there's a list of vaccines that you have to get. If you don't get them or don't have them and the doctor doesn't forgive them, that could prevent you from getting a green card unless you have a waiver. A lot of people didn't want to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and a lot of them got denied unless they got a waiver approved saying religious reasons or personal reasons, health reasons, I'm not able to get vaccines. So that's one thing, they're vaccines. Secondly, they're going to test for tuberculosis, gonorrhea, and syphilis. You don't necessarily get denied, but if you have active on any of those, you have them, then you have to show treatment that's happening. Next, they're going to look at mental health conditions, primarily if you have a mental health condition that's a threat to your safety or other people's safety. If you have one that can't be treated or is not old in the past and you're better now, that could be a reason. And then there's drug use and abuse, which is health related. Usually that can be waived if you show after a year that you're not using, you're good, you're clean, all that kind of stuff. So all of them are fixable as long as you deal with them. You have treatment systems ready, you've gotten better, or you take the vaccines or you get a waiver for them. So those are the general health conditions that can affect the green card process for you. When it comes to the non-immigrant visas, they're more lenient because they don't really look at the tuberculosis unless you have active. They're worried about you to come, get people sick. But they don't really get to most of these. But if they think you're, a marijuana user or a drug user or something like that, they could deny you for health benefits, for health reasons as well. Munter, one of our regulars, good to see you. Hello, John. I'm in desperate need of help, my friend. My consular interview under diversity visa lottery in Montreal is going to be in January 2025. I have the option of doing adjustment of status, but it'll cost me an arm and a leg. I mean, it'll cost you an extra $1,000. I really want to do the consular interview, but I'm concerned that Trump will issue executive order halting diversity process. I don't think you could just willy-nilly do that, but who knows? Or issue travel ban on Montreal. I think Montreal's going to even delay with them. No. Yeah, if you're here in the U.S. already lawfully, you want to do adjustment of status. The difference in fees is going to be like $700-ish. So it's bad, but it's not. I would, if I could do adjustment of status, I'd do adjustment of status. If you have the appropriate background and all that kind of stuff, admissibility issues. Uh, 213, I said, how are you? I'm doing good. No, it says, what about for VAWA case pending? What about it? Well, that's not a question. I have to ask a question format. Swag says, what about 48-month extension? What about it? You guys have to ask in question formats, not just statements. Batman says, hi, John. Good to see you, Batman. One of our regulars, another regular. Thank you for your help. Do you think Trump being next president would impact adjustment of status? Not per se. What will happen is probably if you have a new case you're going to do, they're probably going to add more questions to the forms and background questions about public charge to make sure you have a background that won't become reliant on the government for money. So that's going to happen. That's going to create a lot more work. Also, for adjustment of status, applying for the green card in the United States, they've waived like almost every time the interviews for couples or people in general that are applying for a green card in the U.S., so you don't have to go for interviews. The full-on interviews are probably going to come back, which means there's going to be a huge lag that happens from there for approvals. There's going to be delays because you have to get through all these people having interviews. Mueller says, do you think AOS for diversity visa is expedited? Yes, generally, I've seen. I mean, we do like 1 or 2 AOS adjustment status diversity cases a year, not too often, but they've always been pretty expedited and fast once the case is current. MJ follows up. My husband got 221G letter and didn't keep the passport, and they said they will send email. I don't know your question, but do what the government says. Grace says, I already answered your question, Grace. Jonathan says, if I ask asylum now, am I treated Biden rule now? There's no Biden rule for asylum or Trump rule. It's just there's asylum. Ramjir says, I forgot I answered your question, Ramjir. Afian, we answer your question. Jonathan asked you. Okay, so if we start getting repeat questions, I'll have to mute you because it makes it very hard to keep track of what's going on. Sabrina says, will Trump be able to take away DACA in the first year? Well, he tried to do that already. and there was court cases and stuff. So what they said is, for now, at least, it's been the case, even when Biden came, we're going to keep renewing existing docket cases, but no new ones. If he wants to go down, fight that one, which he probably is, there'll be court cases. So we just have to see. It's hard to tell with court cases what is going to end up happening or not. Khadija asks, can one file for parents who overstay their visa with this new administration? New administration has not started. The laws and regulations for filing for a parent green card whose parents was overstayed is in the statute. The Congress has to change that one. So unlikely that a change in administration will change an immediate what's called an immediate relative case. So if you are in this condition, you might as well just do it now because it'll be faster. But a U.S. citizen can file for their parent who overstayed as long as they satisfy the other requirements. Now, a lot of people are worried about new administration. Administration has not had it's not a power. So there's nothing that's actually happened other than people fearing it. And we could assume some stuff he did last time, for example, adding public charge questions, which is problematic if your parents are older. So that's why it's better to file the case sooner rather than later. Munther said, do you think I'll be able to get it done 30 days? I can't say for sure, Munther. So I can't say. I don't want to speculate about time. Batman says, thank you. You're welcome, Batman. Good to see you again. Okay, let me start muting some people, unfortunately, because they just make it hard to keep track of what's going on. Boss says, what happens if USCIS director does not consent to withdraw N400 if you request to withdraw as you wish? I've never seen him not consent to withdraw, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't consent to withdraw. I don't even think it's about a consenting. We just withdraw. Now, we asked, my stepmom came in 13 years ago to America. I just applied for I-30. Do you think she can get it? I don't know anything about background. Was your dad married to your stepmom before you were age of like 18 or not? It was 18 or 21. I think it was 18. So that's the thing. But I schedule a private consultation to see if it's what's going on with her case. I can't really say based on just a sentence of information. Muhammad says, hi, I'll be applying for naturalization early February next year, so it's going to be affected by new government. The new government's going to come, but whether it's affected or not, we don't know because there hasn't been any decisions made. So it's just me guessing about something that's not happened, so there's no way for me to answer that. Now, it makes great clickbait if I start doing videos about that, but I don't like doing that. That's all. Says, interviews are still being waived for marriage-based green card. Your practice? Almost all the time, yes. I just went to the interview actually last Thursday, but it's rare for people to have interviews scheduled. It wasn't one of my cases. I was going on behalf of a friend. Okay, what adjustment of status? That's fine for a green card while in the United States. Could legal entry with advanced parole DACA be invalidated by next admin for AOS with citizen husband? Unlikely. I can't say for sure. So, Janet, do it. If you got to do it as soon as possible. Finish it up. I don't think they'll necessarily get the BIA is. You never know with the government because they can undo that too. Anything is possible, so I can't really say for sure. But if you got it, get it in soon. Nabila says she entered on B1. Yeah, that's fine, Nabila. That's not the question I was asking. I just got no more information. So it's not a place here for individual guidance about what happens in your case, educational kind of stuff. And I mentioned with your mom, what's important, or stepmom, what's important first is when were your parents, how old were you when your dad and your stepmom, or parent and your stepmom, your biological parent and stepmom got married? That's going to be an important one. What your own status is, what their own background is, the financial stuff. We got to get into all that. So go to jqqlaw.com, schedule a formal consultation, jqqlaw.com/contact, and fill it out. There is a consultation fee, but email us. We'll let you know about how much that is for your type of case. Lala says, how can I bring my unmarried 25-year-old daughter into U.S. fast? I'm a green card holder. Unfortunately, there's no fast way in that scenario. Your daughter have to find an individual way to come here faster. Shami asks, is it still possible for a spouse of a U.S. citizen to come to U.S. with a tourist visa and then apply for a green card to get adjustment status? It's still possible. It might be misrepresentation or fraud, or they might not let them at the airport if they think they're using a tourist visa with the intent of staying here. That's against the rules. But if they're coming to visit and they change their mind and decide to stay, it happens all the time. People come here and realize, I don't want to be separated from my spouse. It hurts too much, and they decide to stay. Then that's okay. In most cases, I don't know your individual case. Hay says, I applied for adjustment of status I-485 through EB3. When can I get approval? I don't know. Ask the government. Afian, you're welcome. Kiko asks, I was in a J1 getting married this year and worried if I could still process my papers next year. I can't speculate what happens next year. Just if you have a case now, do it now if it's appropriate. Schedule a private consultation. We'll talk about it more. You're welcome, Batsal. Oenyan says, my wife submitted adjustment of status for green card without filing for me. At what point can she put it in for me? what is the basis for adjustment of status? If you're appropriate, you could do it. You do it with or after her. But there's a lot more information I need. And it's kind of weird your spouse didn't do that, so there might be relationship issues there there's a lot going on. Best to schedule a private consultation so we can talk about it. Can you explain how to use the monthly visa bulletin? Very generally, I have better videos, but essentially, when you start a green card case, whether it's employment-based or diversity visa or family-based, other than immediate relatives, spouse of U.S. citizens, minor children of U.S. citizens, or parents of U.S. citizens, the day you file the form I-130 or I-140, and in perm cases, the day you file a perm, you get locked in your place in line. So let's say January 1st, 2023 is when you started the case. That's your place in line. And then you have to find out which category you're in, depending on in which country you're in, and go to the Visa Bulletin charts and look up to see whether the date you started your case is passed on those charts or not. And that tells you when you can get a green card. Now, if you're in the United States, there's two charts. There's an additional chart that says when you can start submitting the rest of your paperwork, which, again, this goes way too complicated for discussion here. But essentially, Visa Bulletin tells you when you can finally get the green card approved. Doesn't necessarily mean you will get a green card then. It just means when they're allowed to do it. And it's based on when you started your case. Muhammad says, follow-up naturalization process is going to be slower than this year. Yeah, it's going to be slower, not because of President Trump, but because during election years, they speed up and have more officers to do citizenship naturalization cases. So next year, they're going to remove those officers, take them to other places, and that's that. Nisha asks, can you do adjustment of status on your own without a lawyer? It is not a requirement to have a lawyer do your case. I don't recommend it because I see people destroy their lives doing that kind of stuff. But a lot of people do it as well. So it's not against the law to file your own case. It's just I just see people mess up too much in their case, and it might not be that they get denied, but they add unnecessary delays to their case. They get maybe a fraud finding where there shouldn't have been. It's just mistakes and errors. So it's recommended to have a lawyer, but it's a personal decision, whatever you like. Modest says, I just got married to an American citizen. Congratulations. In a foreign country. Can I come to America with a tourist visa and register, follow up our marriage there? As I mentioned earlier, you're not allowed to use your tourist visa with the intent to actually come and stay. It's like you're lying. You're saying, I'm coming as a tourist, but not really. You're coming to stay here permanently. So I can't recommend anyone do that. If you were, didn't have that intent, you're visiting the U.S., and then your spouse says, stay, don't leave. I don't want you to leave. And you applied. That's generally okay if you satisfy the other requirements for the case. But that's just a general picture I talked about before as well. Is it safe to travel using advanced parole K1 case? I can't really advise. I mean, if you really need to, I don't know. I don't know anything about you individually, so I can't say it was safe for you or not. But there's risks associated with it. Teresa says, parole in place is no longer an option for immigrants, even their fingerprints on the process. Fingerprints has nothing to do with anything. That's just a thing. Parole in place does exist for many kinds of people. There's a thing called military parole in place. There's like programs like that. But the Keeping Families Together parole in place program that President Biden tried to do for spouses and stepchildren of U.S. citizens, that is stopped. Mike says, what if someone is rejected before 1 month and he is in the appeal process? Is he affected by Trump? Trump is not president. There's no affected by Trump. And I'm not sure what you mean rejected before 1 month. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I really can't answer that question. Mariana says, been away having medical treatment. How long do I have before I come back to the U.S.? I'm green card holder. If you're not living in the United States, it's problematic. It could cause issues. So it's not a fixed thing. You got to look at the whole picture of your life and all that kind of stuff. Vatsal says, I filed I-130 for my spouse when I was on a green card. I became a citizen, filed adjustment of status, converted. Do they process my case based on I-130 date or I-45 date? There's no based on case anymore. There's no visa bulletin requirement your spouse to be a citizen. Essentially, whenever the bureaucracy gets to doing your case, they're going to do it. Say says, what's going to be with the newborn? Are they going to be U.S. citizens? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, what that fight's going to look like. President Biden is still president. No one's challenging that other than through just talking about it. So these are all speculation. Can a green card holder apply for a legally immigrant spouse to get a work permit and a green card now? No. You have to find some other programs and exceptions. It's problematic. Will EB1C get harder with Trump in office? I could say most likely. Last time around it was. Sean says, can my husband apply for a tourist visa if he hasn't started paperwork yet? Anyone could always apply for a tourist visa. They'll be more skeptical if they have a case pending, but they'll be just as skeptical that they're married to a U.S. person. So it's up to the embassy and what you want to do. Setar asks, I'm waiting for my adjustment status I-45 approval since 2023. Make it current. How long should I wait? I don't know. There's no fixed timelines for this. Will VAWA be affected on new presidency? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't answer those kind of questions. Mel says, was brought here when I was 1 by using someone else's birth certificate. Should I apply for AP? Advanced parole. I'm not sure you want to file for advanced parole. If you use someone else's birth certificate, that could be problematic. You should talk with an attorney in private to see what you're trying to do, what's going on. That's way too much of a crazy scenario. How long is the interview after I-61 approved? It depends on the embassy. Mexico is probably taking 1 to 2 years. After you get documentary qualified, not after for the embassy. What is a 601A waiver? So if you entered the U.S. either legally or without permission, but your status expired or you didn't have status, once you accumulate more than 180 days of presence in the U.S. without status, and then you leave the U.S., you're subject to what's called a 3 or 10-year bar against reentry. To get a waiver of that, you file I-601A waiver while you're here, get that approved, and then once approved, you go outside and do an embassy interview and not have that prevent you from getting a ban from coming back. It's very short synopsis of what it is. It's more complicated than that. So just have a private consultation. Summer says, I'm nervous. We have our petitions filled with our immigration attorney. I'm sorry about that. But, depending on how strong your case is, there's nothing to worry about. Flacco says, how do lawyers decide what U.S. consul to send the petitioner? It's based on if you're a green card case, the applicant goes. It's not a petitioner; it's the applicant or the beneficiary. But they go to the home country. So wherever they're living in, not home country, wherever they're residing in, that's where they have to do their immigrant visa, green card review. You have no control over it unless there's exceptions. Like if you're from Iran, you could choose because Iran doesn't have a U.S. embassy. You can go to Armenia or Turkey or UAE. But let's say you're living in Turkey, you gotta go to Ankara to do your interview. There's no choice in the matter. Very rarely could you move around for some reason. Like if you're in Afghanistan, there's things. If you're Russian, you go to Poland or maybe Kazakhstan. So if there's political situations, yeah. But like Mexico, there's no choice. You got to go to Ciudad Juarez unless there's some unique exception that they'll switch it. But it's very rare for that to happen. The token, yes, it's been over 1 year since last RFE medical filed case. You could file writ of mandamus sue. Unfortunately, these things take a while. But it's up to you. I don't really can't advise on any of that. You're welcome, Flacco. What to watch out in the EB-5 program? Just watch out for the program itself. It's not a reliable program. That says, upcoming visa bulletin. Do you have predictions? Nope. Veg says, do you know of any expected or possible changes in VAWA? Nope. No one does. Anyone tells you they do, they don't. The administration, unless they have secret sources or something, which you can't rely upon. What if someone is rejected asylum before 1 month? I'm not sure that before 1 month means that we rejected asylum. It can be rejected asylum. You're either denied. Rejected has a different meaning. It means you sent the paperwork in, but it was returned to you because you didn't fill out the form properly or something like that. So it's very important to be very specific in what we're talking about here. Nations were doomed either way. Not necessarily. You have a good case. You got a good case. And you got a good lawyer following up on you. Haas says, if you get deported and sneak back in, can you adjust? No, you're subject to what's called a permanent ban, permanent bar. So you got to leave for 10 years minimum. Unless, it's very rare conditions where exceptions for that. Can I apply for adjustment if I was brought here when I was under one on someone's birth certificate? You're going to have issues because you don't have lawful entry in that case. So that's going to be a problem. Are interviews still being waived? Right now, for the most part, they are. Sabastor says, how much time should we wait after the appointment when all the required documents are approved by the National Visa Center? It depends on the embassy. It could be 3 months, could be 2 years. By the way, if y'all want to schedule a private consultation to talk about your case, please go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. Again, that's jqqlaw.com/contact. Also, we have a free guide of 70-plus pages about the marriage and fiancé visa process. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. The website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Everyday Motivation says, how about Ukrainians who are in the U.S. for the Humanitarian Parole? What's the possible to do? Keep renewing parole, or maybe you get some sort of other visa, work visa, or married or something like that. Miguel says, how long do you think I have to wait for green card? My case is status juvenile abandoned by parents. I don't know. We don't do SIGIS cases. Sabar said, oh my God, why 3 years? Because some embassies are really backed up. If you're from Pakistan, you're easily going to wait 2 years. Sometimes 1 year, but most are 2 years right now. And then after the interview, you might get another year or two of waiting. That happens to Iranians, Pakistanis all the time. From Nigeria, you can wait 3 years easily. Kenya, 2 years easily. Please, may I ask you something? You see everyone's asking questions here. What do you think? Mike asks, someone rejected asylum. He's not in appeal. Is it affected by Trump? Nothing has happened by Trump, Mike. I've said that several times. Trump is not, he's not president yet. So it depends on what your case and what your appeal is about. This is not something I can answer here. You need to have your lawyer talk with you about it. Fun times. I got my green card, but my adopted daughter didn't, and she's still in Pakistan. We got to see when the adoption happens, legal or what. Shabasur says from Yemen. Yemen, you got to go to different embassies. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be complicated from Yemen. Nikama, if I see you ask the same question one more time, asking you about a question, unfortunately, I'll have to mute you so you won't get a chance to ask your question. Mike says, can my husband apply for a tourist visa if I haven't started his paper? We answered that question already. Dayum, if nothing's happened to Trump administration, so please don't ask a question about Trump administration. Say it says, my friend gave me biometrics and U visa case of a student before, and he did consider himself illegal and his work permit to get delayed to come. I don't know say it. It's complicated scenario. I don't fully understand it. And Trump's not president yet. There's nothing he's done yet, so there's no way to answer that. Boss asks, forgot to list 2 job history on N400 for 5 years ago, but instead I listed on the P. I'm not sure what that's the question is. You should have listed that. I don't know why you didn't. It's case specific. I can't answer that here. Sherry says, my application was sent to the NBC. I haven't gotten notice yet what to do. If it's been like 3 months, contact the NBC and see what they're saying. Juan says, can I still travel with my B2 visa even when I have started the green card process with my country's NBC? You could try, but it's up to the people at the border, the officers at the border, whether they'll let you in or they're problematic. So it's up to their discretion. Nikanama finally asked question. Coming illegally for political asylum with this strong file, 2 family members are killed in the last 2 years. Still no question. That's a comment. We don't do asylum cases, Nikanama, so I can't really answer your question, but good try. Mel says, is it unlawful entry if I was brought here by my mother using someone else? It is unlawful entry, so you don't have valid entry. Now, luckily, you're a child, so maybe the false claim of citizenship, I think, doesn't come against you, but it's problematic. Your mom has smuggling charges potentially, so it doesn't look good. Healing says, should I do a K3 now, even though I filed I-130 spouse? You can give it a shot if you're a U.S. citizen. You got a U.S. citizen spouse, or you are the U.S. citizen spouse. Nigeria's backed up. Flaco says, in your experience, how long does the process of the U.S. consulate take in Juarez? So it's U.S. Embassy in Ciudad Juarez. Staying there, how much? Probably 10 days is good, because Ciudad Juarez, first you got to do a biometrics appointment. You got to see when that's scheduled, and then do the interview. And then it's a wild card how long you have to stay. Probably at least a week to 10 days, but you never know. It could be longer. It's very annoying that you have to do that. I know. Are embassy consulates for visa lawyers? Are embassy consulate interviewing for visa lawyers? No, I don't know what that means. Can my husband answer that question? All right, we're going to start muting a bunch of people who ask the same question over and over again. Hey, should someone be waiting 60 days for a decision for USCIS interview with no RFE? There's no real timelines. Okay. How do you get into becoming an immigration lawyer? Become a lawyer. How do you become an immigration lawyer? Become a lawyer, and then you decide to do immigration cases, and you become an immigration lawyer. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of questions. Yeah, Flacco, for marriage-based green card. That's the one I was talking about. We moved from Germany 3 years ago. The asylum case, when can we get a green card? I don't know. I don't know when you got your asylum case, how your background is. How long should you wait after you get married to file? It depends. It depends on when you enter the U.S. or what kind of case you have, or your relationship history, how much documents you have that you need to get. But so it depends. Flacco says, wish you were in Florida, buddy. Been following you for years. Oh, you're welcome. So your kind of case, my location doesn't matter. I just got a Florida case approved for adjustment of status, and so that's not an issue for Flacco. For Florida, I handle cases all the time. We got a question. We got someone saying we can't. Steph Harris says we can't hear you. If other people can't hear me, let me know. We haven't had anyone else say that. My mic is blinking right here, showing that it is working. So I'm not sure what the situation is. Let's see. Are all embassy consulates interviewing for visa lawyers? I'm not sure what that question means. So we're gathering the money for immigration. Do my physical exams for immigration expire? No, they just changed it where they don't if you're doing it in the United States, not overseas. You'll do overseas in the U.S. Vicky Pan, if you do asylum and have work permit, will you be deported? If you have asylum and have work permit, will you be deported? I'm not sure why having a work permit would lead to being deported, so I'm not sure what that means. Mustafa, I married a U.S. citizen living in the USA. We were waiting for interview almost 2 years. Sorry to hear that. I don't know what to tell you. Steve, can Trump end TPS even though he lost lawsuit? I mean, it's possible he'll try and people sue and all that kind of stuff. He lost last time. Vicky, All right, we only got a minute or two left on the show, so I'm going to try to pick some good questions I can answer. And I got to go through a lot of repeat questions. All right. Have you spoke on who is at risk for denaturalization? How far back they go? There's no data on what anything related to that. So anyone who says they know, they don't know. If you think you have a bad case, you should consult with like bad green card or citizenship case, consult a lawyer. I have an I-94 that will be up next year, October. Will that affect me also? I'm not sure what you mean to have an I-94 that's going to be up next year. John Doe says, hi, John. I'm a 54-year-old successful real estate developer with an EU passport. I've done very well and have a ton of money to invest. I always wanted to do the same in America. Well, you get a E2 visa. You should look into that. Go to our website, jqqlaw.com, and search E2 visas on there. I'm not sure where it is on the website, what the URL is, but we have a detailed stuff about there. Can you get a green card based on real estate investment? You got to invest like $1 million and create 10. It's not about the real estate investment. It's about starting a company that's in real estate that hires U.S. employees. So it's going to be tough on real estate. Expensive. I do the E2. Get yourself here first. Separa says, John, I'm inside the U.S. on OPT. My company filed for perm, and I didn't win the H-1B. Day one CPT is day one CPT a good idea? My OPT is ending. I think we talked about that at length a few days ago, didn't we? It's up to you. I don't recommend day one CPT unless you really have to, and it's a legit program. But we went through this in detail last time. Let's try to find one or two more good questions, and we'll call it a day. J2 now at a status from an annulment. Can J2 remarry a U.S. citizen, apply for 212E waiver, adjust status? Yeah, that's possible. Even is it Lan or Ian? Schedule a private consultation, jqqlaw.com/contact. It is possible. You got to get the waiver first, and then U.S. citizen marriage would fix that up. So something to look at. Now, I'm not sure annulment how that works because I got to look into that because you usually get divorced. Annulment means the marriage was never legitimate, so that may cause the visa in the first place. So we got to see why it was annulled as opposed to being just divorced. That's a little problematic because it's not a typical scenario I haven't ran into. But that's that. You're welcome, John Doe. Adjustment via U.S. citizen child or spouse. Is there one easier or faster? Through the child, the paperwork is good. It's going to be better because you don't have to go into is your relationship real or not. So probably I'd go through that. They're supposed to be the same speed, but through a child, it's less paperwork because again, you don't have to show your relationship. So that's I'd probably go through that one. Love is my company's filing for my green card. Do I need to stay with the company until I receive the green card? No. Once you file for adjustment of status and 6 months passes and you have an EAD especially, but 6 months passes, you can switch companies. You got to find a same or similar job, but you don't need to stay with them at that point. But it depends on how long the process is going to take for you. You're welcome. Okay. All right, let's find one more question on TikTok that we can answer. That's not repeat and is new. My question is why we Mexicans don't get benefits or citizenship like other immigrants. You do. It's no difference other than some delays for preference categories. That's because there's a lot of Mexicans applying. Does adjustment of status require you to leave the U.S. if on a visitor visa? No, adjustment of status means you're going to stay in the U.S. to get the green card. Shaima asks, I filled out the I-131A and had an appointment in Djibouti. They took my passport. They haven't called me to come pick it up. My green card expired. I was overseas. If you contact me, I would have strategically told you to do different things, but some lawyers tell you to do what you did. I don't know what to tell you to wait for the embassy at this point because they took your passport and they probably took your green card as well. All right, last question is, married U.S. citizen. A lot of repeats, tips for adjustment of status. Let's just go to the last. Okay, we got a lot of questions that I can't answer or it's like speculation. So we'll just leave it as that. Owen says, got RFE for green card application for birth certificate. Does the issue date matter on the birth certificate? Well, I'll get now. Yeah, I mean, the registration days don't matter. So if you have a birth certificate, the USCIS immigration department is really sensitive about this. If you're born, let's say January 1st, they want you to register the birth with government authorities, ideally within 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but soon after you're born. But if you're born and then you don't register and get your birth certificate for 3 years, 4 years afterwards, or even longer sometimes, they may say that the birth certificate is not correct, it's not acceptable, and that becomes a major problem. And so when someone's applying for a green card, when we come to us, people think it's just the paperwork. We have to analyze each of those documents and make sure these things that in practice we know are problematic are not there. So if you don't have a properly registered birth certificate, then we'll say we can't do the case, or you have to find alternative documents, explanations, school records, all this kind of stuff to adjust for it before you file the case, because we don't want you to file the case, tell the government where you are, spend all this money, and be like, oh, sorry, you're going to get denied because you didn't prep for one of the pieces of paper. So that's one of the stuff people don't expect, but that's part of what we do. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back again Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time on all the channels you're seeing us now: LinkedIn, YouTube, Immigration Talk, U.S. Immigration Talk, or JQK Law, on Instagram, JK Law Firm, and on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John. That's me. God bless. Be safe. If y'all want to schedule a private consultation, please email or go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. That's jqqlaw.com/contact. Also, if you want to download our Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide that talks about fiancé marriage cases, download it. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. The website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and check it out there. And there's a bunch of videos that break down each chapter of it further. So there's hours and hours of content explaining what to do. Many people have said they did their own case based on the book. I can't recommend someone do that, but that's how good it is. User 4 says, I had a consultation with you, John, about 2 years ago. Best consultation money ever spent. Oh, thank you. Wonderful. I appreciate that. If you haven't left a review on Google, please do. Go to jklaw.com or JQK Law and Google pop up. But user 4 and I really appreciate that. I can't remember who you are because I don't know the username and stuff, but it's very kind of you to say that. Having said that, wish you all the best. Chirag says, I'm a B2 married parent citizen. Can I apply for I-130? Probably not. But I need to review your case, so what's going on there. Having said all that, God bless, be safe. I'll see you all on Tuesday. Bye-bye.